In order to image the maxillary canine tooth in larger dogs, likely what you're going to have to do with a DR sensor is to take two separate radiographs. The first radiograph will image the crown and part of the root, and then we'll reposition the sensor to image the apex of the tooth. And the reason you have to do that is the DR sensor is just simply too small to image a larger tooth like the canine tooth. Sensor placement, what you're going to do is you're going to put the crown of the canine in the upper corner of your sensor, being careful not to be right at the edge of your sensor because, as we know, DR sensors have an inactive perimeter around the sensor. So we're going to put our paper towel in like that. So I can see that I have the crown right in the upper corner of my sensor. The rest of the sensor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it in the mouth so it's actually resting up against the palate. For our tube, I'm going to look at the angle meter on the tube, and I want it at a 30-degree tilt before I find my bisecting angle. Canine teeth are a tooth that's at the front of the mouth, so I'm going to stand at the side. I am going to remember with dog canine teeth, I don't want to use the crown of the tooth because I know that the root curves quite distally. So I'm going to remember that the root curves like this. So standing at the side, this is the edge, this is the angle of the tooth root. I use the side edge of my sensor. So halfway in between, we're giving my bisecting angle. I'm already at the 30-degree tilt. So I'm going to get my cone lined up at my bisecting angle. And I can see that I'm directed nicely at my bisecting angle. And then what I'm going to do is make sure that my cone is centered by looking at the front right onto the tooth that I'm after. And just double check my bisecting angle. That looks good. When I take this radiograph, as mentioned already, it's going to get the crown and part of the root. What I'm going to do to get the apex of the tooth is I'm going to take the canine tooth off of the sensor entirely, and I'm going to put it on the palatal side of the premolar, right flat against the palate. Just like that. The root of the canine tooth on the maxilla generally goes to about the mesial root of the second premolar. So I'm just going to make sure that my sensor is in place where the apex should be. And then all I do with my cone is I take it and I keep the bisecting angle that I just looked at and figured out, as well as the 30-degree tilt, and I move the cone a little bit further back, centered on where the apex should be, and take the second radiograph. The second radiograph again will show the apex of the canine tooth isolated away from the premolars.